Got to turn the mic on first. Happy to be doing this with you guys. This is our first ever Adapt Chat. Megan here, who I'll introduce in more detail in a minute, is kind of my sidekick. She's actually the one who's going to be handling a lot of the business development things for Adapt. So, but we'll talk a little bit more about her in a minute. A couple of quick housekeeping things. We are going to be doing some Q&A. We're going to do that at the end. So, kind of queue your questions up a little bit. You know, maybe even in the chat window, and we'll try to get to all of them. I'm sure you'll maybe have a question about something I've said or whatever, and just put it in the questions area, and we'll get to those. One other thing I did want to say is that we're going to try and keep this as short and succinct as possible. So I'm going to be driving this pretty quick. So again, let's just try and hold questions until the tail end. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and get started. So quick refresher, I guess, for some guys, because there are some guys here that haven't actually done this yet or seen Adapt. We've got a few people that maybe aren't Adapt dealers. So I at least wanted to give those guys a quick rundown on some things. So if you'll bear with me, I'm going to get my PowerPoint moving. It's not playing nice right now, so hang tight. See if I can figure out what is going on there. And of course, you test all this stuff, and you test it, and you test it, and guess what? When it's time, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So quick refresher. We started the development of Adapt in 2012. We did our first project in October of 2014. It was actually my house. We threw as much as we could at it at the time. We actually launched it CEDIA 2015. And right now, today, which you'll see that graph there, we are getting close to our 100 dealer mark, which is super exciting. I mean, you look back and kind of the time and all the things that we've done and accomplished, but to see that there's 100 people or almost 100 integrators out there using Adapt is pretty exciting. The other exciting number is there's almost, and it's not 750 yet, so if I'm being honest, I think it's like 740 something, but as you guys know, it changes like every day. So we might be at 750 today. When I did this, it was a week ago, so we could be there. And as you guys know, we've got lots of great guys on staff, and we're dedicated. We're focused on the residential market. So that's just a quick refresher. So Megan here, who I'm excited to have with me because she understands the industry. She's had many a meeting with integrators just like you. Previously, she was an RSA for Crestron. If you're not familiar with what a RSA is, it's a regional sales assistant or associate. Is that what they call it? So she would actually go meet with the dealers, try and help them grow their business, and I got to I guess I don't want to say steal her away, but fair enough. So for us, what she's going to be doing is she's going to be working with you guys on the business end of things. So you guys need you have a question about some business end, or I don't know, bulk key discount thing. You land the MDU that's got 150 units, and you need to, she's going to be the one that'll facilitate that. She's also going to facilitate new dealers, which is key because, as I'm sure you guys know, without growth, we can't do all the other wonderful things that we want to accomplish. So happy to have Megan. Thanks for being here with us. So we're going to get into some of the other new things. Some of you have had the opportunity to experience System Manager 2.0. We have been very slow and methodical with System Manager 2.0. We've had it in beta for a period of time. We are moving that into rather being beta, it's going to be considered a release candidate. So shortly after this webinar, we're going to open System Manager 2.0 up to everybody. And it's still going to be, we'll call it a release candidate for those of you who are familiar with Crestron Labs and how they do some of what they do. But we feel like it's ready for prime time. We just want to catch any little thing before, you know, we call it good, right? So that's something that is definitely coming. Few things, key features that you're going to see in System Manager 2.0. Icon search. So we kind of realize it's a long list, right? And when you're going and you're doing your thing and blowing it, we want it to be faster. So Keith, for some of you who might know who he is, he spearheads our System Manager efforts. He had a great idea. Well, let's put a search in there. So we've got a search plus a filter. There's a little picture of it right there. You can see the fly in on the right-hand side. We've also expanded the copy and paste. So you're now able to do kind of copy and paste only certain things across touch screens, rooms, things like that. So that's pretty exciting. One other thing that's I think is probably one of my favorite things about what we've done here is System Manager 2.0 is focused on a database rather than doing read-write. So when we first introduced System Manager, or, you know, Adapt in general, System Manager would require, as you made a change, it would write that data to the XML document at the time that you make the change. And that's good. It, you know, got the job done. But we realized in, I think it was April 2016, that was definitely not going to be a method we want to use in the future. So we began completely rewriting System Manager from the ground up. And now when you open System Manager and you bring down your adapt file from the processor or open up a local one, we create a local database. And so really all you're doing at the time that you're making changes is manipulating data in the database. And then when it's time to send it over to the processor, well, we create the file at that point. So it's going to make things a lot faster during runtime. As you're making changes, you're going to see speed increases, which I know it was fast already, but at the same time, we wanted it faster. And it also, for you guys who understand, you know, the technology at this level, it's going to allow you to take things even further, or us to take things even further as well. There's a lot more visual aids, so you'll see in some of those pictures that you can now see at the room level that you've assigned an audio zone, you've assigned a display, you've assigned a lighting, you know, zone. Those kind of things are now visible. You'll also see icons now next to the sources, and just a lot more information to give you the ability to you know, be faster about what you do, because that's obviously one of the things that Adapt is all about is speed. We've added camera viewing locally. So this is a really cool thing. Again, a Keith, great idea. We understand that those URLs are painful sometimes to deal with, but with System Manager 2.0, you can actually test the URL right there in the software. So it actually creates it's built-in VLC. For those of you who have used VLC before, it's cool. You hit the play button, it pops up a window. Guess what? You're looking at the camera if you've got the URL right. So that's pretty sweet. Drag and drop stuff, double clicks, you know, to add, I don't know, you want to add the lighting zone to the room. You're not having to mess with clicking another button. You're already there, so you're going to double click. It's going to add it to the room. So again, another speed related item. And then we've also changed the navigation experience. And this one was a little tough for me personally at first, because I'm a creature of habit. I think a lot of us can be, right? I mean, we get to that place where we're kind of happy doing what we do, and somebody changed our, you know, I think there's a who moved my cheese kind of a thing, right? So, but I promise you, if you give it a shot within, you know, a very short amount of time, you're going to be just as comfortable, because it kind of goes back to a traditional navigation method of file and about and the things that we're used to seeing in software. I think we tried to maybe change too much, and we're moving back to something a little more comfortable. Something else that's new, I'm sure you guys are all excited and know already about the HR 310 and the TSR 310. We've enjoyed those remotes. There's a write-up that we did on the HR 310. We also did a write-up on the TSR 310, and Julie Jacobson kind of snagged it, and so I can't actually put it in our social media yet. She's kind of said, you know, let me have that one for a bit, and so I complied. She's special to us. So anyway, you'll see that write-up. But One thing I did want to make a point about with the TSR 310 specifically is that it requires a core update. So you are going to have to update your adapt core to get that new device. But the modules themselves, so the HR 310 module is done. That's on the forum right now. But the TSR 310 we are still working on, and one of the challenges that we're running into is we're trying to weigh and balance the new resolution of the TSR 310 against the size constraints, right? Because it is a small real estate panel, but we have higher resolution, so we can actually do a little bit more with the real estate, but it can be uncomfortable too. So we don't want to do the wrong thing. So it's taking us a little bit longer to get the pages done and so on and so forth. We are also currently working on a completely updated example program and starting program. The main things that we're touching are join number kind of fixes and refinements there. Just mostly visual refinements. Everything's going to be very similar to what you're used to today, but we are kind of fixing things, cleaning things, and we've added a few things too, like the Baldwin locks, and there's a couple other things that we're putting in there. Real quick on the example programs, a lot of people ask the question, or at least ask questions about the difference maybe between example program and our starting template. I'll take a moment and just talk about that because it could clear up some misunderstanding. The example program is a done, complete, working, finished program, right? So you can actually load that up, test it, play with it, use System Manager, make modifications to things and whatever. And literally, if you plugged in the equipment to the processor that is in the example program, then it's working, okay? The starting program has a one of each in it. So we've got a TSR 302, we've got a 1060, we've got a 760, we've got kind of one of each type thing. And the idea behind that is that it's a starting template. That's more of a template rather than the example program. However, we do have plenty of people, to include myself, that like to start from the example program in some cases and work backwards. And I've personally done it that way. So nothing wrong with that. A little bit more on the 310. Yeah, guys, I know. No camera viewing and no intercom. So I'm going to kind of help Crestron out a little bit. As you guys know, we love Crestron. We built Adapt around Crestron, and so we're gonna help them look good for a second, and maybe at least explain why we think they made the choice to do what they did. So what they did was they took the things that, it was a good 80-20 rule move, I guess a good way to say it, where they took the things that maybe people only would use 20% of the time out, and the whole point is to try and hit a price point with that remote. And $1,000 dealer cost remote that looks like that and works that well, I'm pretty happy to have. So I hope you guys feel the same way. Currently today, before we are in the interim of us getting the pages done for the TSR 310, it is totally cool, and I've done this in my own house. Grab the TSR 302, file save as TSR 310. You can even use the TSR 302 module in Adapt, and it'll work just fine. You're not going to notice any problems. And we're still going to advocate for them to add intercom and cameras, just like I hope everybody else does, because I actually use those features in my home. So as I was talking about earlier, the example program, we're doing updates for the join numbers, page refinements, but I did want to address when to use the new versus the old. And here's kind of the way I want you guys to look at that. If you've got a project that's already Adapt and you've done everything, you're not going to gain any value, I think, by updating an older system like that with the new touchscreen refinements and things like that. In most cases, you've probably already found and fixed our mistake, if with a join number or something like that. So Sorry about that, but thank you for doing what you did. But yeah, so moving forward, though, I think it is a good idea to go ahead and start from our example or starting program once we have that release. It's going to be version 2.5, and so that would be the kind of the difference. There's no need to go back on your older things, but moving forward, yeah, definitely. Something else that's new that will be wrapped up in this next update is going to be what. And I don't know, I don't have a real good name for it. Maybe one of you guys, one of you smart dudes can come up with a better name than I came up with.
Type it in the chat box.
Yeah, type it in the chat box if you get an idea. But the 2-signal IR source modules. I call it 2-signal just simply because I'm trying to at least enlighten people on what it really does. So you can see there in that image that we've got the old and we got the new. The old way of doing, say, a DirecTV box or Apple TV or those kind of things was, yeah, you drag in the module, you connect the signals between the module, the adapt module, and the IR driver. Geez, that's not that hard. However, we're all about speed and efficiency, and Eric came up with a very beautiful way to take out time, and so now you can literally drag an adapt IR module into the program. You put your init thing there. For those of you guys who've been doing adapt for a while, that you know that registers that module with the adapt core, and then you connect your packet transmit to the proper port. That's it. Well, and choose the port number. That's another actually key thing. The port number is relative to the packet transmit connection. So if the packet transmit connection you're making is to, say, a CP3 and it's IR ports, there's 8 of them. You pick which one of the ports, one of the 8, and in the parameter down there, and you're good. If you're doing an RMC, like a DM RMC, I should say, or even I guess an RMC3, 2 ports, right? So you would pick 1 or 2, depending. So really cool though, and really fun and fast, and that's one thing we love. Now, something else to go along with that, if you hit F1 on that module, Eric was nice enough to take the time to go ahead and put a whole list of the standard IR commands and what the join numbers are, so that you can refer back to that if you needed to add or do a custom function. I don't know, maybe you actually use the format button on DirecTV. That's how you would get it. You'd know what join number, because all this happens behind the scenes, and we want you to have the information that you need to to make that happen. There are other core updates that we've made as well. They are Eric does a good job for you in the forum, kind of explaining what those core updates are for. A lot of them have been under the hood refinements to things. A lot of them have been because of your involvement and because of the things that you've asked for or found as a mistake. Look, I'm okay, I think, in this group of companies saying that we know we're not perfect. We're never going to be perfect. What we are going to do is we're going to do everything we can to get things addressed as quickly as possible, because we understand that is something that you guys as integrators need. I have spoken to quite a few of you in weird times of the day or night or weekends or holidays, just because I care. We're in this together, and we really do care about your success. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. So those are some of the new things, but let's talk about an uncomfortable situation that I'm going to make less uncomfortable for everybody. I've been talking to you guys a lot about things coming, and things that we want to do, and things that are on the roadmap, and things that I think there've probably even been some promises that I've made that I maybe haven't gotten to live up to. But I hope that you guys at the very least recognize Pantech Design, myself, and Adapt to have a very core focus, and that is on reliability and consistency above all else, not what's cool. Okay, so we know that Crestron's working on, you know, the icons for the presets thing. We've been tracking it, we're watching it, we get it, but it ain't ready. We don't want to put it in until we know it's 100%. And when it is, we'll do it. Same kind of thing with subpage reference lists. I've talked to you guys about these kind of things over time. And it's unfortunate, subpage reference lists never got to the place where it needed to get in order for us to put it in before we started finding out about, okay, things are about to really get flipped on their head and change a lot. And that's kind of what I talk about when I say these UX challenges. So let me share a few things with you guys that we know about. I know that you've heard things about this. Crestron has been needing to update their user interface tools and, quite frankly, to provide a better user interface experience. I think they did a great job with you know, Core 3 / Smart Graphics, but the industry wants more, and they recognize that, and they've been moving towards HTML5 for a while. We had a conversation with some of the engineers. This would have been, say, April 2017 and May, and in June we began working on concepts for HTML5. That's actually what you're seeing on the screen right now. These are concepts. The top two concepts were done in an Adobe format, all HTML5 based. One of the things you see that blur there. Well, there's no Crestron touchscreen that's going to do a blur like that. I mean, sure, you could make a static image that's a blur, but not a true blur in terms of taking the current image and blurring it. These are the types of things that HTML5 can actually accomplish. So we actually put together concepts quite a while ago. Some of you guys have already seen these concepts. I've already showed them to you because I want to get your take on it. You know, I want to see what you think about what we're thinking we want to do. And well, like I was hoping and sort of expected, yeah, you loved it. And the very next question is when do I get it? When do I get to have it? What's it, you know? And yeah, so we are in the process of figuring that out with Crestron. There may be, and this is what held us up on doing that thing you see at the bottom there, that was all based on VT Prototype work. And while I like it and it's cool, it's a lot of work, and we made the choice not to go down that road because there is an interim thing that we're working on with Crestron just after master's class that's going to kind of further the simplification of user interface programming and design and all the other things that go into that. So to answer the question, what is the holdup? We feel like we need to stay focused on reliability and consistency. And we'll get to some of the other things when we see a few other changes that need to occur happen. So that's the short answer for that. But what are we doing? What are we working on? And what have we been working on for a while? And that is quite a lot. I know you guys have seen some of it, some of the forum stuff. We've put stuff up there for you guys to download, test, play with, whatever. But a couple of things that you haven't gotten to see yet are list expansion. So we've got list expansion coming to 100 for rooms and T-stats and lighting zones and a lot of different things. We've been asked the question, it's fair, why only 50 security zones? Or at this point, why only 100 when we bring it up? Why only 100? And it's a logical question, but let me throw it back at the group for a second and ask this question. Do you think your customers want to scroll through 500 things of any kind? No. I think that's a rhetorical question. We all know the answer. They're not going to want that. What they do want, though, is they want some logic in place that puts the things that are bypassed at the top of the list. or some other way to narrow this list down. And we kind of feel like 100, man, you're covered. And you may have to do a little bit of stuff on your end, but it's part of the beauty of Adapt. We don't take the power away. You guys can still do some of the things that that you may want to do. Sources, yeah, the sources are going to stay at 36, at least for now, until Adapt 2.0 something happens. And what I mean by that is simply that Adapt 2.0, even though we're going to expand lists, we have to keep the sources the way they are until we're able to include the dynamic source control things that we want to have in place. What this is going to allow you guys to do is further the pull a module in and be done with it in Simple Windows type of a thing, but still be able to, over in System Manager, map some of the functionality or functions that you may want to customize or change or whatever. When that occurs, that's when we're going to increase the source list. However, like I say in my slide here, don't fret. There's typically ways around the problem. I mean, geez, let's face it, a swamp's only got 24 source inputs anyway, right? So what happens? Well, we end up with a lot of non-controlled or local sources. That's really where you're able to kind of expand things. And Eric's got some great tips and tricks along those lines. So you guys that are running into those big jobs, and we hope you are, Eric's got a way to help make those things happen. I kind of say uncontrolled local sources don't count, and they really don't. You literally could have 12, say, Xboxes in a system, but only have one Xbox source in the system. And Eric's gonna be able to help, explain some of those things. These things that we just talked about, these expansion of lists and those kind of things, those are all going to go to internal beta first. We're going to make sure we use them in a program, right? So we don't turn you into guinea pigs on that one, because it's going to be a relatively big change in terms of, we know that you're going to have to touch the touchscreen module. We are, and the physical touchscreen device, because we are going to have to shift the serials a little bit. So for those of you that are programmers, you know exactly what I'm talking about there. So moving on, a few tips and tricks that I want to share with you guys. Some of these are pretty standard, but believe it or not, some of these people don't know. So hopefully these will prove helpful to you. Alt-X literally closes all of your symbols. I don't know if you guys are like me, but in Simple Windows, I'm a dragger. I'll drag everything over and then I'll arrange it so I can see it the way I need to see it. And then it blows my mind because there's so much stuff in front of me and I have to, and then I've been the guy also that is X. So Alt-X, get rid of everything. The Control-Shift-V, paste special, that's a phenomenal one. You'll see I put a little image up there. If you've never used this is quite frankly one of the fastest ways to duplicate your programming. So, you copy a whole folder, and because of the way Adapt is designed, it's, all the stuff in there is F9able, is what we say, or copy and pasteable. So you copy this whole folder, and then you Control-Shift-V, and you turn that whole folder into now 10 user interfaces. Or maybe you're doing a room. Put your one room in, Control-C, Control-Shift-V, boom, 10 rooms. And you can increment them like you see in that little image. Something that I was happy to learn, and I don't know when they changed this, fixed it, whatever, but duplicate device programming now actually works across user interfaces. So it used to be that in Simple, you'd have to go and you'd have to copy a TSR 302 to another TSR 302, and that's all you could do. Now you can actually go to, say, a Crestron app and right-click and duplicate device programming and pull it down to a TSR 302 if you want to. And because of the consistency in the Smart Graphics extensions, it's beautiful. Makes things very, very fast. So if you've kind of strayed away from doing that because of the it not being consistent, it is now. And I show a quick little picture of that in terms of, duplicating the device programming. Something else, multiple processors. We are starting to see, and I'm guessing you guys are seeing some of this too. Crestron's putting some things in their processors behind the scenes in firmware and stuff. We kind of advocate, turn off the cloud client if you're not using it, things like that. But there's even more happening that some we can talk about. I'm not going to go into it, but some we can't. Here's the bottom line. There are smart ways to design and build systems with regard to multiple processors, and we want you guys to be using some of these methods that we've put together. And again, Eric is going to help with those things. We may even put a white paper together for it, but the multiple processors today definitely help kind of future-proof things and put a processor in the place it should be in terms of making sure that our CPU clock is not pegged in any way, shape, or form. Another thing that happens, you guys put Sonos modules in, and you put this XYZ and that XYZ module, and all of a sudden you're running a CPU clock of 80%, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So we want to pay attention to those things and use the multiple processor to achieve kind of a quieter CPU load on a processor. When I say roadmap here, what I'm actually talking about is we've got a concept that we actually fleshed out a long time ago. We didn't involve it, but it is involved in a single processor mode called bridges. And essentially a bridge is a connection between a device and the core. Well, we're going to end up with the ability to do multiple processor bridges, which is going to be super cool. So RMC3, pool controller, throw the adapt module in over there, and the adapt module is going to go, hey, I need to register with a core. Oh, there you are, done, and away we go. So that's kind of exciting. That's going to be coming. When to update, why, and compatibility. And when I say update, what I'm really talking about is things in general. I just want to make a general comment statement because I know you guys have gotten bitten by things before. Use good judgment here. Don't update unless you need to. And we are happy to help answer the question of whether you should or whether you shouldn't. And I'm talking about across the board. Simple Windows, should you update? Device database, should you update? Those kind of things. One of the benefits of you being an Adapt dealer is the fact that you have access to my team, and we live and breathe and eat this with you. And typically we've seen it first. I really try and stay away from the whole, gee, we've never seen that thing. We like to hopefully run into these things before you do. And so we'll help you make some good decisions and be smart about that. Module versioning, just a quick little refresher. The first number in the version number is the kind of goes along with the core, I think is the way we could say it, Adapt 1.0 versus 2.0 type of a thing. The second number does mean the symbol definition has changed. So translation, you got a little bit more work on your end in Simple Windows if you're going to update that module. The third number is really just an under the hood thing. So it's a nice quick replacement type thing. Maybe we've cleaned something up, sped something up, changed something, whatever. So I did want to at least let some of the guys know that are maybe new that the versioning obviously does have a scheme, and you need to question whether to update when that second number has changed. When the third number has changed, that last number in the versioning number scheme, man, don't sweat it, update it. It's more than likely we've made a major improvement there. So yeah. Don't update Simple unless you have to, or you're in a VM and you've got a little test bed. We've had, even internally here, we've had, our challenges there. Look, we love Simple Windows, the most powerful tool in our industry. I think we can agree with that. But let's be smart about it. Test these things before you pinch yourself. And again, we're here. Call us, talk to us. We're happy to help. MC3, RMC3, CP3, 33, whatever's. We are starting to see that the best processor Crestron makes is the CP3. And what I mean by that is it's really in terms of overhead only. That is the most powerful processor, I guess is a good way to put it, the CP3. Not the CP3N, because the CP3N does have onboard network, and there's overhead requirements on the processor to handle those things. Pro 3 is the same, AB3 is the same. Same processor, still has extra overhead. MC3, obviously that was the first 3 series. You guys might have run into the SD card problem and had to replace and whatever. You know, you load to these things over time 1,000 times, and all of a sudden, or obviously less than that, and all of a sudden we've got a challenge on our hands. So we love seeing systems designed with the CP3 at the heart. That has yielded the best results for it's not just about adapt. I'm just in general. That's kind of our processor of choice. And then lastly, yeah, don't update in simple unless you have to with the auto update tool. So you see down at the bottom, we've got our now new upgrade assistant. We've been bit by that a few times. So just a little warning, friendly warning that again, unless you have to, you may not want to, or even if you have to, do that maybe on your own. Maybe not use the auto update thing so that you can be more aware, you know what's going on, right? You can be in control of the situation a little bit better. Wanted to take a quick moment and thank one of our dealers in Houston. Huge success story with these guys, Refined Systems. To my knowledge, they are, if they're not the top dog in this territory, I'd be surprised. They do a ton of Crestron, and they've got a super smart programmer there. Guy knows his stuff, and we're thankful that he's taken his time to work with our marketing team to get a success story put together. If you haven't read it, you know, go to the website, check it out. We've got a few other ones there as well, and we're actively pursuing these with our dealers. If you're interested in doing one of those with us and don't mind spending the time, that's where you reach out to Megan. Megan's going to help you out. She'll get you moving. And these things take about, I don't know, 2 to 3 months to get complete. But we definitely did want to give a shout out to Refined for doing that with us. So lastly, guys, we need your help. If we're going to get this thing where we want it to be, and I've shared my dreams and vision with, I would say, anybody I've done a demo with, you've heard the passion, you've heard the things, you know where I really want to go. Obviously, we have to wait on a few things. A couple things are out of our control, but the main thing that I think is in our collective control is Pantech Design's growth and Adapt's growth. And while I have Megan here, who I know is going to do a great job bringing on new dealers and helping you guys and that kind of thing, we need your help. Take advantage of what I consider to be probably one of the best referral programs our industry has ever seen. And I mean, geez, it's $1,000. So yeah, absolutely, it's real simple. Go get them, bring them to us, we sign them up, you get a free key. It's that easy. Something else, we're actually making some really good inroads because Megan here worked for Crestron for quite a while, and she knows all the RSMs, and she's communicating with them. And so the RSMs are actually bringing us opportunities, but they need to hear from you guys too that Adapt is a great thing for your business, that it's helped you guys, that it's working for you. And ultimately, we truly understand that our success is dictated by your success. That's how we make this happen. So do not hesitate at all. We're here. We want to help you guys. We have a saying in the office: we earn our next processor key. and we don't get to do that, well, without helping you guys. So thank you guys so much. Thanks for taking the time to understand Adapt, to listen to me and all my gibberish, to meet Megan. But I got a really important guy here who wants to spend some time with us. I think you guys know him, Eric. So yeah, Eric, you got a few. And the way we're going to do this, guys, is I know you've got questions maybe already in the queue, but you know, we're going to hit them best we can. We'll try and get everybody's questions answered. We've got about 20 minutes or so, and we're going to give Eric some time with you guys. So Megan, once you hop over, give Eric some FaceTime with these guys, and then
so if we have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, messenger. We'll read those off here.
Howdy.
Thanks, man. So first question, Meg, what do we got?
First question, do you want to know who the asker is?
Not necessary. Not necessary.
Can you point multiple IR modules to the same port?
Yes.
Okay.
If they're talking about the packet transmission modules. Yeah, you can stack them. You can even have the same signal name if you'd like. It doesn't necessarily matter. The hardware takes care of either jamming or duplicating the signal. That's fine.
Good.
All right. So then with two IR sources, where is Audi play, stop, on, off, and two, can you make a way to use logic? Let me start that one over. Can you make a way for use to change some custom logic with it?
So in regards to I guess an overall statement about those modules is that they're more of a test bed for us. Their convenience for the programmer. They are locked down just for ease, right? If we gave you flexibility, they wouldn't be as easy. So we basically wrapped up the best way we use these modules, or the typical way we use these modules. But what you really need to think about is that this is how we're testing that packet transmission signal working with IR in general. It's one thing to test it out with displays because there's only a handful of commands, but when it comes to sources, it's got to be more responsive. If the customer notices lag or duplication of commands, we need to know about that. The real reason for this is because eventually the files themselves will be a part of System Manager, so that System Manager can take the data from the IR file in, and the core will read that data and manipulate the user interface, show and hide buttons depending on what the driver type is, and then ultimately you won't have to do much of anything for sources. You can just tell the program what type of source it is, and then System Manager will take care of the data. Upon loading that data, the core will configure the user interface page. So if you, for instance, if you have two Blu-ray drivers in a program, one of them has functions A, B, and C, the other one has A, C, and D. When you press the buttons or select the source and show the control for the first source, the user interface will show the three buttons for A, B, and C. If you select the second source, it'll hide B and only show A, C, and D.
So this really ties into what I was saying earlier about the furthering of the dynamic device driver thing, whatever that's going to really be called. We don't know. We'll probably have our own name for it. I don't know. But and along those lines, it also ties into the user interface stuff that we are looking at. You know, we know that we're going to have to make some pretty drastic changes to the UI in terms of having that one source page or source sub page, or maybe it's not even called a sub page. So.
Right, and that's the reason that this isn't sort of in there already, is because it's going to require a pretty major overhaul to the join scheme on the user interface panel. And at that point, we need to just improve how the user interface works in general, not only efficiency-wise, but just user experience.
Yeah. Megan, what do we got? Another one?
Can Megan speak was one of them. I'm over here on the side.
I want to know who. No, I'm kidding. Fair. Okay. Fair.
Okay. So let's see. Then couple comments. Security zone list that only shows open or bypass would be fine.
Okay, so we talked about that earlier, that 500 is, well, at first thought kind of okay, but when you really think it through, then yeah. So maybe there is something that we can do, but we kind of want you, we've recognized that every security system's got different stuff to it, right? So we want to give you guys the freedom to handle the logic behind what you're going to need to do to reorder lists and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Another comment, 5-minute training videos on various subjects from Joe and Eric.
Videos are, a priority for us. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten to dig in as much as we want. Joe almost every day says that would be a video, just from a question that somebody asked him.
Those down.
We have a huge list of them, but that list is terrifying.
Along those lines, one of the things that we're interested in doing is taking that list, if you will, of videos and turning them into a more concise training thing that is something that is like a full training class, but broken up into sections that you can go in and you can, choose to complete a section at a time, type of a thing, all in the interest of furthering adapt, but also reclaiming poor Joe's time, because he loves talking to you guys. He wants to help you, but sometimes if he's in training, a full day of training, bringing on new adapt dealers, that hurts in terms of the support bandwidth. So that's a good one.
Okay, next question. Will we be able to create our own packet transmission modules with custom logic?
Not unless you know the secret formula. It took a lot of reverse engineering, teaming up with Crestron to come up with that system. So it's not an easy thing, but the magic sauce behind it would be available in System Manager once we get the scheme going regarding that update to the UI that I discussed.
It's a good question.
Yeah,
it's a really good question.
It is a very valuable algorithm, so to speak, and it's not cut and dry, so I can't just explain it or even put a set of instructions out there to do it. It's going to take a lot of effort to get it built in.
These are good questions, guys. Keep them coming. Is the plan to incrementally roll out features like expanded list and filtered sortable list, or will we see these features in larger consolidated update?
In general, we're going to try to put out the major features. Those are some major features that are high up on our list. Those will probably happen all at once. But Troy's probably already mentioned that the need for the expansion of rooms and devices and things like that became too much for us to hold off on. So we decided to just expand. But now when it comes to features like being able to reorder lighting zones, window zones, sorting of lists, that sort of functionality, it'll probably be all in one. But then other features may trickle out. So kind of depends on the feature. We don't want to put little minor changes out there and assume that you guys have the time to update your templates or your existing systems even. So we don't want to necessarily throw a whole bunch of one-off features out there and expect you to keep up with what we're doing. So we feel that it's better to put them out in chunks, especially if they're major changes. If they're little changes like these convenience IR source modules, we'll just add them and you can collect them from the forum and we'll add them to the suite as we do the major releases.
The next question is in regards to 2.0 beta, which kind of covered when are we estimating it to be ready and when are we estimating it will be out of beta?
Okay, so like I said earlier, we're kind of treating this next version, if you will, as a release candidate, but it is still considered beta. So we are putting the disclaimer out there that, please use this, please test it, please try it, go for it on production, projects, but be aware, be cognizant of, the fact that it is in beta. And remember that, System Manager does back your stuff up for you in I think it's the retrieved folder. Is that right? So anytime you retrieve from the processor, it immediately makes a snapshot copy of that. So you can go mess around, make changes. If something happens or whatever, you've got that, to go back to. But along those lines, our goal is to have something ready. I don't know, what are we talking? it's hard to
6 months
say.
ago?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted it ready 6 months ago, but we also don't want to tell you that it's going to be 2 months and it be longer, or a month and it be longer. It's honestly going to come down to how much you guys use it, because we're now opening this up to everybody, and how much feedback we get. And look, here's the thing, you guys know how this works, man. There's no secrets here. If it's quiet on the home front, that's just as scary as having problems, okay? Because that tells us that people aren't using it. All right, we expect that we're going to have some things, and we want to weed those out as quickly as we can, because keep in mind that we're bringing new dealers on with this product as well, and they can't have a bad experience, and you're sort of a part of that with us, and we're thankful for that. So I guess the long answer to say the short, we don't know, but we're actively working on it, and with your help, it happens faster.
And you've probably mentioned this already, but we will know a lot more about our roadmap after next week.
Absolutely. Masters class next week. The whole team's going to be there except for poor Joe. Go easy on him if you're not going to be at Masters, and Megan's going to be here as well. Yeah, no, we're gonna be there in full force, minus Joe. So we'll know a lot more about the HTML5 thing. But again, like I said, we're kind of working on something else that's maybe an interim move into that with Crestron, and we'll know more about that shortly after Masters as well. So, good questions.
All right. Neo does not make a gate icon. Can we make one and get it into System Manager?
We would love to. This is where custom themes come in, because icons are nothing more than numbers to the data to System Manager. So if you make a custom theme and basically save Neo as your own theme, make your own gate icon, add that to the very end, we can talk about putting that into System Manager if someone wants to do that. It's been a challenge for us. We do have some clout with them. The reason that the fireplace icon is in there is because of Troy's house.
I got another one for you too. R2. There's no R2D2 icon, guys. Come on. Can we get the, but in all truthfulness, I was able to add my own in a theme, and and so if put it this way, if you guys need some theme type help, we're happy to have that conversation. There's some additional things that I've learned about themes, and some tips and tricks that I could kind of save you some time on. So that would be something that I would do for you. Reach out, hit me an email, and we'll set up a time, spend an hour.
It stinks to have to sort of go through all that pain for the one little missing icon, but there's actually countless things like that we're sort of
uncovering over time.
Well, and just working around.
Yeah. Good question.
All right. So when using an audio zone with a display, and the display is doing the video switching with a single audio out to a swamp or 6x100, is there a way to use a single input for the audio rather than needing a different source input per source?
So, yeah, let me read that again. Using this must, okay, it's Jeremiah. Display with a video.
Thank you for not asking me that yesterday, Jeremiah.
A single input for the audio rather than needing a different source input per source. Yes, I think what you're looking for is an audio switcher to basically cheat and act as the audio switcher inside the TV. The limitation right now is that we don't allow you to connect the output of a TV to the input of anything really. To us, the output of the TV is what you see, so that's an endpoint. We've seen more and more people decide to do this where they want to use the TV as an audio switcher. So the idea is that's what you have to do, is add a fake audio switcher to your program, and then that input becomes a tie line. The real input on the 6x100 becomes a tie line from that fake audio switcher. So you don't need multiple copies of the sources or multiple destinations of the sources. You literally land them on the TV's audio switcher, as well as the TV or DM system or whatever, and the system is tricked into thinking that that tie line works.
So it's basically a generic audio switcher, and you can establish however many inputs you need, and you're sort of faking it.
Yeah, we use usually use the 8 zone because it's the smallest one, You don't need any hardware connections in the program. You just need to plop it in your program, give it the init signal and a number, and then it's available to assign as destinations for sources, but then also tie lines from the other audio switchers, the real audio switchers. And this trick applies to sort of a common request is to make a single source two things. I think it was one of our dealers that wanted a PlayStation that's physically connected only one way, really. It's connected DM and then audio switcher. They wanted two icons on the touch panel, one for PlayStation and then one for DVD. For whatever reason, his customer wanted two buttons. Perhaps it was putting his surround sound system into different modes or something like that. But you can use a fake audio switcher for that as well. So if you have two sources, logical sources in adapt that need to represent a single physical source, you can use a fake switcher to trick the system into assuming that one has been selected versus the other. If you don't do that, the first one will always win because hardware feedback rules, and this way is a way to trick the hardware feedback.
Sounds like a cool video to me.
Oh, damn, thanks.
All right, got one more question. Time for one more question.
The release question. The new core and Adapt 2.0. I know that it's not near term, but is it year end or 2019?
I'm definitely going to say year.
I think we can safely.
It really depends on what's going to be included in 2.0. I don't think that we're going to shoot for the moon based on anything that they tell us next week.
Yeah.
But what we will know is how much work we have ahead of us. Yeah. So Adapt 2.0 is sort of a relative term based on what we find out next week.
And to go along with that, just to be clear, System Manager 2.0 is different than Adapt 2.0. Now, Adapt 2.0 will have some things in it that will require an update to System Manager, we expect. But System Manager 2.0, we're really pushing to have that out as soon as possible. I mean, if we wanted to be like maybe some of the other manufacturers in our industry, we could put it out there right now and call it good. It is, I mean, I've been using it solely for months and
not a year.
Yeah, if not longer. So we feel pretty confident about it, but we know at the end of the day that you guys put a lot of faith and trust in us to do the right thing and to make sure our stuff works.
And so the term Adapt 2.0 will be the first sort of release of modules with a 2.x.x.
We did go over module versioning as well.
So it will be backwards compatibility broken, so to speak.
Yeah.
You won't be able to use the 2.0 modules with the old core and old modules and so on.
Gotcha. Well, guys,
we have a couple poll questions.
Oh.
That we lost track of. So.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, actually, I wanted to give Eric an opportunity to just say hi bye so he can get back to doing the things that he needs to do, and we can get back to that. So, right. Man, thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you all for showing up.
Yeah.
Even though you're probably in your offices.
Right on. Thanks, buddy. So, and Megan, why don't you take a moment to say a few words, since I think they want to hear more from you, and I don't blame you. Tell them a little bit about what you've been working on this past week. Just what the directives are.
So I think I've actually talked to quite a few of you that are on here, and I think that this helped answer some of the questions that you had. Mm-hmm. Actually, most of the questions that I was asked.
Yeah, we tried to incorporate as much of the things that you were, tossing her way into this best we could. So, yeah.
And I knew that Troy would be able to, and Eric would be able to explain them a little bit more in depth than I could. So I think that worked out really well. If you haven't set up a time to chat with me, you're more than welcome to still do that. It's kind of just a discovery call, learn a little bit more about your business and how I can help you and how we can continue growing your business with Adapt.
Yeah, so it's all about. So we got a few poll questions, I think, and these are going to help us with our minds next week when we're at Masters, doing what we do.
Okay.
So let's see how these go. And we've never done this before, so this is kind of new to us. So
Launch that.
yeah, so
Oh, okay.
which homepage layouts do you like? And this is going to help with some of the the user interface design stuff. I think we kind of overdid it. Is kind of the internal consensus of too many, right? And so we want to try and narrow that down. Is everybody seeing these?
Can you guys see it? If you can't see it, chat box. Oh, okay. I see what it's saying.
Yeah, no, we're getting some feedback. This is good. This is great, guys. Awesome.
Still collecting. There's still a couple of you. Looks like.
Very cool. It's calculating.
Selecting. And you should be able to select multiple as well.
I don't know if you can do that. It's multiple choice.
I made this one too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Needed none of the above option layouts.
And we got about 85%, 92%. You guys are awesome. This is really, really good feedback. And to get it this fast, I can't thank you enough.
Do you want
I think we're gonna call that one good.
You want to display the results?
Yeah, go ahead and display the results. So here's the results coming, guys. All right. Can you minimize that so I can see it? Like, yeah.
Can you guys see?
Ooh, I guess that didn't do it.
I can't do that.
All right, fair enough. There we go.
There we go.
Okay. So this is, man, it's what I was expecting. It really was. Because I think we've got some clients that enjoy that power user experience, but for the most part, a simplified but separated. So what's cool about that is that tells us right there where our initial focus is going to be on that user interface concept that we've been working on. This is great. All right, let's throw the next poll up there for them. And we appreciate you guys taking a little extra time. I know we ran over a little bit, but I think this is valuable information.
Okay.
We close that one out.
And then let's see. Question number 2.
So this is a time savings question. We're trying to get an idea on the average, and this is relative, so that you can think about this the right way. It's relative to, let's call it the old way or the previous to adapt way of programming. So how much time has adapt saved you? What we think we've been hearing and seeing is that time is increasing for people, and that's what our hope is. So we have about 75% answered. About 85, 92. All right. I think everybody's probably been able to make their decision. So let's go ahead and post that one. And again, what I was expecting to see. So can you roll that down a tad? I think we're going to be like, take this and go down. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So what we didn't want to see is 50% being in the 25 or less kind of column. That tells us that something's definitely not going right. So our understanding has been that we are at least at that kind of 50% mark. We're starting to see people dip into the 60, 75, 85, and we know it's not a hard and fast thing. I mean, we're kind of sort of guessing at this, but you guys, you know your businesses, you know how to gauge these things. So thank you guys for the poll answers there. I think when we close this, there's going to be a few other quick questions. We just want to know how we did. I mean, we got to do these again, right? We're doing these once a month. So this is all about just constant communication about what we're thinking, what we're doing, what we're aspiring to do, getting feedback from you guys. So yeah, let us know how we did. And if there's something that you guys think we should have done different, better, more of, whatever, And for the record, I already know you guys want Eric sitting here for 3 hours. It's okay, but let us know. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Our very first Adapt chat. Go have some fun Firmware Friday stuff, because we all know how you guys love to update firmware on a Friday. Anyway, take it easy. Appreciate everything.
Thanks,
Till next
guys.
time.